It's 11:40 on a Tuesday night, and there's a pain in your side that wasn't there an hour ago. Sharp enough that you actually stop talking mid-sentence and just wait for it to pass. You tell yourself it's nothing. You've told yourself that before. But by midnight, you're doubled over your kitchen counter, and your partner is already grabbing your shoes, and you're doing the math you always do first, before the pain, before anything. What does an ER visit cost if it's nothing? And what does it cost if it's everything? That question follows you your whole life. It just gets quieter as the number in your bank account gets bigger. What almost nobody tells you is that the quiet isn't kindness. It's a different kind of exposure. And you don't understand that yet, sitting in this waiting room with no insurance card and a fake calm on your face. You wait 4 hours, not because your appendix isn't close to rupturing, because the woman 2 seats down came in by ambulance with chest pain, and the man in the corner has a head wound that won't stop, and the triage nurse has 30 beds and 11 people ahead of you who all also think they might be dying. Nobody's cruel to you. Nobody's warm either. You are a chart number in a queue, and the queue doesn't care what your pain feels like from the inside. When they finally call you back, the doctor is fast, efficient, good even, but you can feel the clock on him, the way he's already halfway out the door before he finishes the sentence, because 6 other people are also waiting on him tonight. He orders the scan, confirms the appendix, and tells you surgery has to happen now. You ask, almost embarrassed, what this is going to cost. He says he doesn't know. He's not being evasive, he genuinely doesn't know, because in this hospital, the doctor treating you and the department billing you have never once spoken to each other. Here's the part nobody warns you about at this level, and it's the part that actually does the damage. It isn't the pain. It isn't even the bill that arrives 6 weeks later, the one that makes your hands shake a little when you open it. It's the paper cup of coffee a nurse hands you at 4 a.m. while you're waiting for someone to explain what happens next, and the way she says, "I wish I could tell you more." Like she means it, because she does, because she's watched this exact fear on 100 faces and has no power to fix any of it. Kindness with no leverage behind it. You'll remember her far longer than you remember the surgeon. 11 months later, you're back in a hospital, different city, better job, actual insurance now. Same kind of pain, different organ. And the first thing you notice, before anything else, is the waiting room has fewer people in it. Not because you're special yet, because your insurance card puts you in a different queue than the one you were in last year, and queues are the first thing money buys, long before it buys anything that looks like warmth. The doctor here spends 4 extra minutes with you, not because he likes you more, because his software shows him your coverage before he walks in, and coverage tells him which tests he can order without a fight from a claims department, and tests take time, and time is the first current a hospital hands out unevenly. You don't clock it as unfair yet. You clock it as normal. That's the part that should unsettle you and doesn't. Here's the pattern almost nobody names, and once you see it, you can't stop seeing it. The lower tiers of care aren't rationed by cruelty. They're rationed by paperwork. Every additional form your insurance requires is a small tax on the doctor's attention, and the tax gets paid in the currency of how long he lingers in your room. 6 years later, you're in a different kind of building entirely, and you don't fully register the shift until you're already inside it. Your company's executive health plan books you into a private wing for a routine cardiac screening, the kind of thing you used to skip because you couldn't afford the day off, let alone the bill. There's no waiting room. There's a lounge, and a woman who already knows your name before you say it, because your file arrived before you did. The cardiologist here doesn't glance at a chart while talking to you. He's read it already, in full, the night before. He asks about your father's heart, which you mentioned in an intake form nobody usually reads that closely, and you feel something you don't expect to feel in a hospital. Seen. Not because he's a better doctor than the one who saved your appendix, because his schedule has room in it for you to be a person and not just a case. This is the tier where the story almost tricks you into thinking money buys better medicine. It doesn't. Not really. Not yet. What it's actually buying, at this level, is attention. The scan is the same machine. The stitches heal the same way. What's different is that someone has time to look at you long enough to catch the thing that a rushed doctor 2 tiers down might have missed on a bad night. You don't find out how far that gap actually goes until 9 years later, when your mother, 74, collapses in her kitchen, and you are now, by every measure that matters to a hospital, wealthy. Not showing off wealthy, the kind of wealthy where a phone call gets returned in 4 minutes instead of 4 hours. You call a number you were given at a gala 18 months earlier, half listening at the time, the kind of thing you file away and forget you have. A physician calls back before the ambulance has even reached the hospital. By the time your mother is wheeled through the doors, a specialist is already standing there waiting for her. Not paged, not scrambling, already there. Because a phone call from someone at your level moves through a hospital differently than a phone call from someone at the level you used to be. Here's the sentence that should stop you cold, and it does, eventually, though not that night. Your mother is getting the exact same emergency medicine tonight that the woman in that first ER waiting room all those years ago desperately needed and didn't get in time. The difference was never the medicine. It was whether anyone with power was already standing there before the emergency started. You start noticing it everywhere after that. At the highest tier, hospitals don't really treat wealthy patients better so much as they treat wealthy patients earlier. Concierge physicians run tests healthy people would never think to ask for, catch things at stage 1 that would otherwise surface at stage 3. Because the whole model up here is built around never letting an emergency become an emergency in the first place. The poor get treated in crisis. The rich get treated in advance. That gap compounds every single year nobody's watching it. The last piece of it lands on you almost by accident, 2 years after that, at a hospital board dinner you only attended because your mother's cardiologist invited you. You end up next to the ER director from the very first hospital, the one from that Tuesday night years ago. The fake calm, the coffee, the nurse who couldn't tell you more. You don't recognize her. She doesn't recognize you. You're just two people at a dinner now. She mentions, almost in passing, that the hospital lost that ER doctor, the fast one, the one who saved your appendix 2 years after you were there. Burned out, 41 years old. He'd told her before he left that the thing that broke him wasn't the trauma. It was watching the same patients cycle back in sicker every time because they'd delayed care they couldn't afford, and knowing exactly what would have prevented it and having no way to give it to them. You go quiet for a second at that table, because you finally understand what the whole story was actually about, and it was never the buildings, or the wings, or the coffee, or the waiting rooms. Every tier of this system has good people in it, trying to do right by whoever's in front of them. What changes, floor by floor, income by income, isn't how much anyone cares. It's how much time and information they're given to act on that care before the emergency already has the upper hand. The rich aren't loved more by medicine. They're just met earlier. And that gap, quiet, invisible, compounding for decades, is the part of the bill nobody ever shows you.